The blazing sun hung in the sky like a white-hot disk, beating down as Mason secured a small cooler to the deck of his little boat, the Wanderer. He was 25. For 3 years, he had saved every penny to buy this 7-meter center console vessel. It wasn't new, but it was perfect for his plans. The day promised a good deep-sea fishing trip, about 15 miles off the coast. "I've got this. The forecast looks good. Fuel, check. Food packed, check," he whispered, mentally running through his list. And yet, a nagging thought refused to leave him. You've never gone this far out alone. Mason pushed the doubt away and focused on his preparations. That Tuesday morning, the marina greeted him with silence. The weekend boaters had already gone back to their jobs in Miami. Perfect, just him and the freedom he craved. His phone buzzed. A message from his sister, "Be careful, and send me a picture if you catch something good." Mason smiled and replied, "Don't worry, I'll be back by sunset." He slipped the phone into a waterproof pouch and noticed dark clouds on the horizon. The forecast did mention storms, but later. He hesitated for a moment, then shrugged. He'd be back before they arrived. The Wanderer's engine roared to life with a steady, reassuring hum. Mason guided the boat through the narrow channel until the marina disappeared from view. Ahead stretched the ocean, an endless blue merging with the sky. Here it was. Freedom. An escape from the gray cubicle walls of his IT job, from the cramped apartment, from the suffocating feeling that life was passing him by. Out here, he could finally breathe. When the coastline vanished behind him, Mason opened the throttle. The bow lifted, spray flew off the sides, and the salty wind slapped against his face. He laughed aloud, savoring the speed and the solitude. 2 hours later, he cut the engine. Silence fell, broken only by waves slapping the hull and the cries of distant birds. His GPS showed nearly 16 miles offshore, a bit farther than planned, but right where the fishing forums had promised a good catch. He baited his line, cast the rod, and waited. The boat rocked gently under the warm sun. The clouds he had seen earlier had scattered, leaving the sky clear as glass. The strike came just after noon. A powerful tug nearly ripped the rod from his hands. Mason's heart pounded. The line tightened and loosened as the fish thrashed deep below. "Come on," he gasped, muscles straining. Finally, the fish broke the surface. Mason couldn't hold back a shout, "Mahi-mahi." Its scales flashed under the sun, electric blue and shimmering gold, as if someone had spilled paint across the water. Not the biggest he had ever seen, but solid. Maybe 15 pounds. Mason leaned over the side, net in hand, already imagining it on deck. Then he saw it. Something else. A massive, dark shape gliding just beneath the surface, far larger than his catch. He froze, hands trembling. The shadow circled once, then again, while his mahi-mahi thrashed desperately on the line. "Not now," he muttered through clenched teeth. "Not now." The waters suddenly exploded with bubbles and spray. From the depths burst a gray monster, jaws wide open. I barely managed to jerk back, dropping the net as a bull shark lunged forward. In one lightning-fast motion, it snatched my mahi-mahi and snapped the line as if it were nothing. My heart pounded so hard, it felt like it might rip out of my chest. I stumbled back toward the center of the boat, eyes locked on the predator. It circled closer now, its dorsal fin slicing the surface like the blade of a knife. By my estimate, it was at least 13 feet long, as wide as a barrel. "Go away, please, just go away," I whispered. The shark slipped beneath the surface and vanished. I spun in circles, scanning the horizon. Empty. Maybe it was gone? Then a sudden blow from below crushed that hope. The starboard side of the boat jolted upward. I lost my balance, cracked my head against the rail, and bright sparks flashed before my eyes. I collapsed onto the deck as the Wanderer rocked violently, waves crashing over the sides. Struggling to my knees, I felt warm blood trickling down my temple. Another hit. This time the hull itself groaned and split. Fiberglass cracked. Freezing water surged inside. I lunged for the radio, twisting the knobs with shaking hands. "Mayday, mayday. This is the Wanderer. Approximately 16 miles east of Miami. Shark attack, hull is breached, we're flooding. Repeat, we're going under. Only static hissed back. I pressed the button again, voice breaking. Mayday? Someone. I need help now. The boat pitched sharply, the deck nearly vertical. Through the chaos, I saw the shark still circling, movements deliberate, relentless. Another strike, this one tore through the hull with a sickening crack. Water rushed in faster than the pumps could handle. I grabbed my life jacket, fumbling with the straps as my fingers shook uncontrollably. The emergency kit, where? Under the console. I lunged for it, but the boat lurched hard, slamming me across the deck. The Wanderer was rolling. I clung to the rail, but the world flipped upside down. Everything, cooler, tackle boxes, every last piece of gear was thrown into the sea. The engine sputtered, choked, and died. With one final groan, the boat capsized completely, tossing me into open water. The cold stabbed through me, stealing my breath. I broke the surface, gasping, choking, spitting salt water. The boat floated upside down, its white belly gleaming under the sun. Air trapped inside kept it afloat for now, but the shark was gone from sight, and I knew it was still there, waiting, below me in the darkness. 16 miles to shore, 16 miles of open water. Night was coming fast, and somewhere nearby, a predator circled. I began to swim. The first hour passed on pure adrenaline. I struck at the water with desperate force, every movement fueled by rage and fear. My eyes never stopped scanning the ocean. Behind me, the Wanderer shrank to a tiny white speck, then vanished into the waves. I made my choice. Leaving it behind was the only way. Staying meant waiting for the shark to return. And the boat could no longer protect me. The life jacket kept me afloat, giving me a moment's rest. But the cut on my temple throbbed in rhythm with my heartbeat. Dried blood pulled at the skin on my cheek, and every turn of my head sliced like a knife. I forced away the thought that the trail in the water could attract something else, something just as dangerous. The sun dipped lower, the harsh daylight fading into a soft golden glow. I stopped, caught my breath, tried to get my bearings. Land was still nowhere in sight, but I knew it had to be west. I fixed my course by the sun and pushed forward. By the second hour, exhaustion hit me like a hammer. My arms turned to lead, my shoulders burned with every stroke. Thirst gnawed at me. My lips cracked from sun and salt. Worst of all was the silence. No voices, no hope, only endless, bottomless ocean. When I rolled onto my back to rest, the quiet grew terrifying. Swim, don't give up, I rasped to myself. In the third hour, I thought I saw salvation. A ship's silhouette shimmered on the horizon. I blinked, gone, swallowed by the glare of the water. The disappointment hit harder than the fatigue. Hey, over here. Help, I shouted, but my voice cracked, breaking into a pitiful whisper. Please, help. Only silence answered, echoing into nothing. The sun kissed the horizon. The sky burned orange and red. I forced myself to think clearly. In nearly 4 hours, I had covered maybe 3 miles. At least 12 still ahead. Night was coming, and with it, new trials. My muscles cramped from exhaustion and dehydration. And something was following me. I had noticed it an hour ago, a dark shadow, 30 yards behind. This isn't just a shark, I thought. Too calm, too patient. It was waiting. As the sky deepened and the first stars appeared, the water turned cold. A shiver racked my body. My teeth chattered. Even here in warm seas, hypothermia was becoming a threat. Another wave crashed over my face. Salt water seared my dry throat. I coughed, choking, spitting it out, but the thirst only worsened. Think, I muttered. I knew, if I kept swimming through the night, I'd burn the last of my strength. I needed another plan. I tightened the jacket so it cradled my head and chest. Then I surrendered to the current. Let it carry me wherever it wanted. My only job was to move just enough to stay warm and survive until morning. When clouds swallowed the sky and darkness became absolute, I was left truly alone. Adrift in an ocean where sea and heavens blended into one. Time lost all meaning. Minutes? Hours? Was I even drifting in the right direction? Something brushed against my leg. Soft, almost gentle. I jerked, heart plunging into my stomach. Get away. I screamed into the dark. My voice shook with terror. Then came another touch, harder this time against my calf. I kicked wildly, connecting with nothing. The water around me erupted, alive with motion. Silver streaks flashed all around. Hundreds of small fish darted past, their scales glimmering like sparks under the weak starlight breaking through torn clouds. I understood. It was a bait ball, a school of fish packed tightly together for protection. But from what? The answer came fast. 20 yards away, the water erupted in a fountain of spray. A massive shadow broke the surface, snatched part of the school, and vanished into the depths. A wave of foam splashed over my head. I froze, paralyzed with fear. And they weren't sharks. In some ways, worse. Dolphins. A whole hunting pod. My hands fumbled through soaked pockets. Trembling fingers found a plastic bottle. I needed fire to signal for help. Then I felt it, the small shape of a disposable lighter. The one I had shoved in my pocket long ago from the emergency kit. Come on, please, I whispered, flicking the wheel. Nothing. Again. Again. Dead. It had been underwater almost 24 hours. I wiped it on my shirt, useless, just shifting the moisture. I tried once more. A spark. Another. Then finally a tiny flame. I held it to the bottle. At first the flame wavered, ready to die, but I shielded it with my hand. The plastic began to melt, then suddenly caught, belching black smoke. The fire climbed higher than I expected. I waved the burning bottle over my head. Hey, over here. I'm here. Far away, a ship moved along the horizon. But whether it didn't see me or chose not to, it kept going. The plastic seared my fingers. I cried out and dropped it. The water hissed, swallowing the last flicker of fire. A wave of despair crushed me, heavier than any real wave. So close to salvation. The second night found me. I lay on my back, staring at the stars as my body grew numb. Thoughts dragged, heavy and slow. A strange calm settled in, the kind that only comes with complete exhaustion. I'm sorry, I whispered to the sky, thinking of my sister. I really tried. Something nudged my leg. Fear didn't come. I had no strength left for fear. If it's a shark, then fine. Quick. Done. Another push, stronger this time. I shut my eyes, bracing for pain. But it never came. Instead, something firm lifted me slightly above the water. I forced my eyes open and saw the sleek gray outline. A dolphin. Alone. Not from the hunting pod. It pressed its nose against my side, nudging gently. What are you doing? I croaked. As if it understood, the dolphin surged forward, carrying me with it. I clung to its fin, barely holding on, too stunned even to wonder. We swam for what felt like forever. Sometimes it dove, then surfaced again, letting me breathe. My mind drifted in and out, reality melting into fevered dreams. I woke fully to the sound of an engine. Growing closer. Louder. A bright spotlight slashed across the waves, blinding me. I blinked and the dolphin was gone. I was alone again, adrift in the dark sea. There, off the port side, someone shouted. I tried to raise my arm, to signal, but my body refused to obey. The beam locked onto me and held steady. Man in the water. Coming about. Everything after that blurred into chaos. Hands reaching for me. Voices shouting orders. I felt myself being lifted, mumbling nonsense as I weakly fought against them. Easy, son, a raspy voice whispered right in my ear. It's over. You're safe now. We've got you. I felt solid deck beneath me. Faces leaned over, filled with concern. Someone wrapped me in a blanket. A bottle was pressed to my cracked lips, this time with water, to soothe, not burn. They gave it carefully, sip by sip. What's your name? Mason, I breathed. Mason Reeves. The captain crouched beside me and let out a low chuckle. Well, Mason Reeves, you might be the luckiest man I've ever met. We don't usually take this route, but a storm up north forced us to change course. If it hadn't been for your smoke signal, I wanted to tell them about the dolphin, but my tongue tangled, the words slipping away. The ship's doctor was already shining a light into my eyes, checking my pulse. Severe dehydration. Sunburns, some second degree. Looks like jellyfish stings too. Early hypothermia. He needs a hospital. But he'll live. He'll live. Those two words echoed through my mind. And before I finally slipped into darkness, I clung to them like a lifeline. When I woke again, I was in a white hospital room, hooked 2 and 4. The air smelled of antiseptic. Machines hummed softly nearby. My throat was dry, my lips raw, but I was alive. The first thing I saw was a window. Sunlight danced beyond the glass. And I realized I was smiling, just watching the light. I had never valued ordinary daylight so much. The doctor told me I was unbelievably lucky. A few more hours in the ocean, and the outcome would have been very different. But I survived. And now that word, survived, meant something entirely new. I closed my eyes and thought of my sister, of hearing her laughter again, and, of course, of the dolphin. People can say what they want, I know the truth. Without him, I never would have made it. He was there when hope was gone. Since then, the ocean has never been the same for me. It isn't just water. It's a living force, one that can take or give life in an instant. I survived. And now every morning feels like a gift.